polls indicate it's not that simple.
Of course. I mean, we can see the polls today where it shows that maybe Trump has a slight lead over Joe Biden, but the election is not today, and we're a few polls away from the actual general election. And I think that's part of the reason why Chris Christie is running right now, because he is making the case that Donald Trump is far too great a risk for the Republican Party, given all the legal entanglements. And while right now Trump seems to be energized by the fact that he's been indicted, but back down here on planet Earth where people dwell, indictments for candidates usually spell political death, and convictions even worse. And so that's why people like Chris Christie are hanging around in this race, because they know the dynamics of this race can change overnight upon a criminal conviction. Interestingly enough, in that poll, it showed about a third of Republican voters would be very uncomfortable, perhaps walking away from Trump in the event he is convicted. And of course, that would be the end of his candidacy.
Yeah, 1/3. Adrian, the op-ed also highlighting some polling that suggests the impact of a conviction would be even more pronounced in the swing states. One-time Siena poll from October showing Biden winning 6 battleground states by an aggregate of 10 percentage points if Trump is convicted and sentenced. So much more at stake there in the swing states.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we've got to keep in mind the campaign hasn't even really started yet. The general election campaign certainly hasn't started. As Congressman did mention, it certainly looks like Donald Trump is going toward being the Republican nominee, but that's not guaranteed by any stretch. And I think that's why it's so important, why you've got, a number of trials going on, and why it's so important that these trials start sooner rather than later, so that we can really see where things stand more quickly. Again, this is one of those things that we've got to look at, where there's such an entrenched belief that Donald Trump's supporters are with him no matter what. And not only the New York Times Siena poll, but a number of other polls have proven that if he is convicted, he will lose a dramatic amount of his support, which is why, again, it's so important that we see justice being served. And I think President Biden is going to win regardless, because, again, the election hasn't even really gotten started. I think when people start hearing Donald Trump back on the campaign trail saying crazy things, using the dangerous rhetoric that he uses, reminding voters of the dangerous policies that he's put in place, the election will become more clear. But again, when you look at these convictions coming forward, potential convictions coming forward, it only paints a more clear picture for a lot of Republican voters in terms of what they're going to do and how they're going to vote this in the general election.
Carol, could there be a 5th criminal case in the making? The Detroit News reporting the existence of an audio tape, which you're very aware of, in which Trump apparently pressuring 2 Michigan election officials not to certify the results there of the 2020 election. Does this become an issue in the state of Michigan? Does this become part of Jack Smith's case right now?
Either one of those things could happen, Richard. Jack Smith could decide to what we call supersede the existing indictment and add this as an additional count, but more likely he would add it as an additional what we call overt act, or an additional act in furtherance of the conspiracy that he has already charged. Now, whether the state decides to take a criminal case against the former president, that remains to be seen. But again, we are all working against a clock here, or we're all watching the clock with respect to when all of these trials may get to actually be tried in front of a jury, and that's a big question here.
Does he subpoena all of the tapes there, Carol? I understand there's only 2 or 3 minutes that the Detroit News has right now. Yeah,
subpoenaing the tapes, or even doing a warrant for them, would be par for the course. And whether it depends whether the newspaper decides that it's going to turn them over voluntarily, or whether turning them over would actually reveal a source, and whether they actually feel the need to protect that source. Yeah. And then it becomes a different kind of issue. But it seems that the criminal authorities probably would find a way to get their hands on those tapes.
Charlie, to you on this, based on the calendar in front of us, we've got not only the possibility of this Michigan case, we have Colorado, we have the D.C. Court of Appeals. Again, a response needs to be heard or had by the government, DOJ, Jack Smith, by this Saturday. A lot happening here as we get just to the last week of the year.
No question about that. In fact, the calendar is really, I think, the great challenge, because it doesn't seem like there are going to be any convictions, prior to Super Tuesday. And so the Republican Party could be in a situation where their titular nominee, or the head of the party, or the likely nominee, I should say, is not yet convicted, but it's impending. And so the question is, what will these other candidates do? Nikki Haley and Chris Christie in particular. Do they stay in for the long haul? Because I've been saying this for some time, that convictions and these indictments are going to awaken a significant amount of this public sooner or later, and they're going to recognize the threat and the risk it poses to the party as well as the country. And that's why I'm shocked, frankly, other than Chris Christie, the other candidates in that primary field have not been sharpening their messages to make that point about the risk. When you look at this calendar, many of the primaries will be over, and many will think the nomination is over by then. So they got to sharpen that message now, because the calendar is unforgiving.
Charlie Dent, Adrian Elrod, I owe you one. Carol Lamb, thank you so much, all three.